Let's ask the real question. How does something that wrong last that long? Not just slavery, but everything that followed it. The night rides, the public lynchings, the lack of accountability. How does that continue, even after the law changes? Because systems don't survive on law alone. They survive on alignment. To understand this, you have to stop looking at history as just events and start looking at it as a system. A system made up of 3 reinforcing loops. The first is the moral alignment engine. This is the individual loop. Every person has an internal process that determines what is right, what is normal, what is acceptable. This doesn't come out of nowhere. It is shaped by experience, interpretation, and repeated exposure. Over time, what you experience becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes who you are. The second is the moral cohesion loop. This is the social layer, because no one builds belief alone. Your environment reinforces it. Family, peers, community. They confirm what is acceptable, correct what is not, and apply pressure when you deviate. So now your internal beliefs are no longer just yours. They are stabilized by the people around you. The third is the dependency loop. This is the system layer. Law, economy, education, work, opportunity. This layer determines what is rewarded, what is punished, and what is even possible. Now, belief is no longer just internal or social. It is built into survival itself. Now here's where it locks in. When all 3 loops align, you reach convergence. What you believe internally is reinforced socially and rewarded structurally. At that point, belief doesn't feel like belief anymore. It feels like reality. Now apply that to slavery. You start with laws that say a person can be property. Status follows the mother. Baptism doesn't change condition. Marriage cannot cross racial lines. These are not just rules. They are the foundation of the dependency loop. They structure the system. In 1669, Virginia passed a law stating that if an enslaved person died while being corrected by their master, the master faced no criminal penalty. The legal reasoning? A master cannot be presumed to have intended to destroy his own property. That is not a cultural attitude. That is a legal architecture. The law formally declaring that black life carries no criminal weight when extinguished by a white hand. Then you reinforce it socially. Communities normalize it, participation is expected. People are required to return runaway enslaved persons, enforce hierarchy, accept violence as order. Poor white men who own nothing, no land, no political power, were deputized as patrollers, given legal authority over those below them. Not through shared wealth, through shared enforcement. Now you have the moral cohesion loop stabilizing the system. Then over time, it moves inward. People begin to interpret the world through it. They justify it, they defend it, they build identity around it. Now the moral alignment engine is calibrated to match the system. This is why it doesn't collapse easily. Because even when slavery ends, the loops don't automatically break. The structure shifts, but doesn't disappear. The social reinforcement continues, and the internal alignment remains. So what do you get? You get night rides. You get public lynchings. You get courts that don't hold people accountable. Not because the law still says it, but because the system is still aligned. This is where people misunderstand history. They think if the law changes, the system ends. But that's not how systems work. Because once alignment is established, it sustains itself. Now, here's the deeper layer. And this is where most people stop too early. At some point, people are no longer just participating in the system. They are agreeing with it. Not always consciously, not always intentionally, but through repetition, through normalization, through lack of resistance. There is alignment between what exists externally and what is accepted internally. That alignment is what stabilizes the system, and the longer it continues, the more it feels natural, the more it feels correct, the more it feels like it has always been this way. Now the system doesn't need constant reinforcement because people carry it. And this is why it lasts generations. Not because there were no people who resisted, there always were, but because there were enough people who benefited from it, participated in it, or allowed it to continue. Now here's the key. To break a system like this, you cannot just change one layer. If you change the law, but not the people, the system adapts. If you change the people, but not the structure, the system pressures them back into alignment. If you shift social groups, but not internal belief, the pattern repeats. To destabilize the system, at least two loops must be disrupted at the same time, and at full convergence, all three must be decoupled together. This is why systems that are deeply aligned feel impossible to break. Because they are not held up by one thing. They are held up by everything working together. So the real question is not just, what was the law? The real question is, what was reinforced inside people, between people, and around people that allowed it to continue? Because systems don't just exist in history, they exist in alignment. And anything that is built on alignment will continue until that alignment is broken. Thank you for watching the Inheritance channel, where identity is clarified, where history is quantified, where inheritance is defined, not assumed.